Thank you so much. Well, we are in the midst of a great telecommuting experiment. It has transformed the way we live, the way we work, and of course, the way we do business. Case in point being this very virtual summit being presented by Intel and CNBC TV18. Now, our present and future is in the clouds with the cloudification of everything. So, what exciting possibilities can we look forward to? And what are the challenges we need to overcome? That's what we are here to discuss on this panel titled Calm Clouds Ahead, Cloudification of Everything. Joining me on the panel are Harmeen Mehta, CIO of Airtel. She also heads the security and cloud business there. Sridhar Reddy, founder MD of ControlS. Satish Chandra Dureswamy, VP and Global Head Cloud Infrastructure Services at TCS. Sumit Malhotra, a cloud evangelist, and of course, Kit Hochi, VP Sales and Marketing Group and GM Cloud and Enterprise Sales at Intel. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. It's a very pertinent topic right now, especially in the times that we live in. And of course, cloud has become the norm and the sort of default operating model to deliver the services. So from that perspective, let me get in the industry leaders heading large technology organizations across different industries and let them briefly explain to you their approach to delivering services via the cloud. So Harmeen, we'll come to you first. What are the possibilities that the cloud is offering to a company like Airtel?
So I think immense possibilities. I mean, we're a company of very large scale. Almost 300 million customers and a million enterprises that we serve. We run one of the largest big data lakes, on planet Earth, and processing all of this information. The biggest thing is the ability to be able to grow it. And I think a very large part on, most of Airtel, actually, all the applications, all of the engineering side, almost everything runs on the cloud. Very, very heavy. We run our own private cloud, which is one of the largest in the country, but very, very heavy dependent on that. We have a multi-cloud strategy, so we run in the public cloud as well. And I think for us, it's really the freedom it gives the development teams, while it's only the cloud team that's focused on on getting the underlying layers ready. But with today's technology, and as we build everything in microservices, it is almost impossible if you're not on the cloud to be able to have that level,
right,
of scale, agility, speed that is needed, and the elasticity for applications to shrink and grow as they're needed in real time without human beings actually getting involved.
I think that's a very important point right there. The elasticity that cloud affords an enterprise, especially in times where demand and supply is unpredictable. And if we look at say the media sector, that's especially true in this context. So Sumit, what would you say to this question of what are the approaches that one needs to take when it comes to delivering services via clouds, which are ever changing, and with demand elasticity in perspective, it's unpredictable as well.
I personally do not see cloud as a technology. I see it as a platform. And I currently run a team which actually manages and runs a large hybrid deployment spread across multiple geography and availability zones. Considering we also use PaaS, we now prefer to call it multi-cloud instead of hybrid cloud. Actually, it's a reality that at present, there is no cloud provider which currently offers a platform which is complete, as in some are good in analytics, whilst others are good in machine learning. Some are good in content delivery for large objects, some might be good for small objects. Hence, you need to enable your technology teams to have access to disparate systems and platforms to build amazing products. I think that's a key. And enabling that access to make sure they can do their job faster, quicker, better than others is what gives a media company advantages over others. As a support function, my job currently is to provide easy access of these platforms while ensuring security, availability, and compliance. The old word in CIO dictionary typically, if you sum it up, it's called governance. But in today's agile environment, it just doesn't happen. One has to settle for minimum viable governance instead. In simple terms, instead of making a concrete house, make some trade-offs and put guardrails to limit the blast radius instead. Over the last many years, we have invested a lot of time in building visibility and control fabric, which enables our tech team to make well-informed decisions while using cloud services. In simple terms, choose the right fit by balancing 3 key business metrics: cost, risk, and value. The control fabric, which we call Keystone, acts as an orchestration layer and helps us do many things. First and foremost, it helps us do standardization. It provides access of only approved set of services configured optimally by default. Like, for example, by compliance, if a company wants to enforce 2-factor authentication for identity management across all systems, it can be simply done by ensuring that all systems are provisioned only by 2-factor authentication. Otherwise, it doesn't get provisioned at all. Second thing, which is very key, is portability. It's important for enterprise to limit stickiness of one software code with a cloud platform. Our fabric ensures that workloads are portable, allows migration between public and private cloud. Although, yes, you cannot say it's 100%, but idea is to make an informed decision as opposed to like a developer saying, hey, this is my thing. So another thing would be cost efficiency. The platforms enable us to keep our cost low by doing 2 actually major things. First, optimally utilizing our private cloud deployments. So our private cloud deployments utilization is 80% at all times. Even at middle of the night, it would be 80% because of migration which we do between public and private to optimize our cost and spend. But last but not the least, I think Fabric enables us to make the tech teams a co-owner in the risks and cost. Hence, we provide them flexibility to make a decision by looking at the value. This enables buy-ins and reduces friction between the 2 teams, which is generally happens when you have a sysadmin or a DevOps team deploying the systems versus a tech team which is using it. So I think the secret recipe for most enterprises right now is to use multi-cloud, but have focus on risk, value, measure them correctly, and make informed decisions.
All right, so multi-cloud is the focus, and we can see why that happens, especially with off-prem and on-prem deployments, giving the flexibility to companies to deploy as they please. And we have 2 cloud service providers on the panel, that's ControlS and TCS Cloud. So let's get their perspectives in on how customers are transitioning to the cloud and what's their journey been like. So Sridhar, we'll come to you with that question first. ControlS has been growing its business. I think you've got about 6 data centers right now, and moving on to the 7th. So business seems good. Tell us some of the customer case studies where you've found their strategies to be successful, and what can someone watching this gain from that experience?
Thank you. We've come a long way from 10 years ago when I started talking about cloud. That's when we launched our services, cloud services. Wherever I go, everyone said only one thing: cloud does not work for me. Almost everywhere. There are some CIOs who would listen to us But at the same time, just out of curiosity, there is no talk of any business. Everyone felt that that's not a technology for enterprises. This is 10 years ago. Then we changed our model. We said we will not talk about cloud at all, but we use those technologies, and we came up with a new service. We said that disaster recovery as a service, which was an instant hit. It's nothing but cloud. Cloud for used for disaster recovery as one just use case. From there we have progressed. Today, if anyone says no, I'm not interested in cloud, any CIO says that he is not seen as a progressive or he's not seen as the current. That's the dramatic change that I have seen over the last 10 years in the process of building our company. We became the biggest cloud service provider, apart from, of course, the hyperscalers like AWS or Azure or Google. Domestic companies, out of the domestic companies, we became #1 because of the interesting journey that we gave to customers. I'll give you some case studies to answer your question more directly. You all know that recently the government gave licenses to almost 15-16 banks. These are greenfield implementations. Normally takes a year plus to build out multi-million-dollar projects involving large teams and significant investment by these banks. But these banks got licenses in the cloud era. What it means is that we, along with other software companies, product companies of banking software, we came up with a simple solution called Bank in a Box, which meant that these banks need not invest on huge IT teams, infrastructure, software tools, security tools, worry about compliance, worry about managing the applications, uptime, security. Everything was outsourced. And that's what cloud did. And in the process, eliminating almost 60-70% of the traditional costs associated with it, no capital expenditure, and plus, in a record time, between 4 to 12 weeks, we made these banks live. Now, this would have been possible without cloud. Take the same case, let's take another strong enterprise application like SAP. It's the same situation, right? In the past, SAP implementation meant that organizations spent a couple of years in customizing their application and then hosting and then continuous management, application managed services, basis services. Today, the kind of a service that we all-inclusive bundle that we came to our customers is completely variable. Your project is successful, you will start paying that too on a monthly basis. Now, this is what the cloud has done. Obviously, which led to a massive deployment of cloud across length and breadth of the country and worldwide. There are many other case studies. Public cloud came in, as our colleagues said, multi-cloud deployments. Yes. Now these are some of the. Hope it addresses.
So let's come to you, Satish Chandra. Now, you had observed that since 2018, I think 2018 was the first time you saw more investments happening in cloud-based infrastructure than traditional on-prem infrastructure. So, what's your sense of where the market is moving right now?
So, Gautam, customers, predominantly look at cloud journey in 2 dimensions. Okay, the first dimension is to drive digital transformation in accelerated manner. The second one is to drive cost efficiencies. Okay, as strategic partners, we help our customers in both these dimensions. The need for the cloud also, slightly differs from enterprise to enterprise or industry to industry. So, if I look at a banking customer, their need for the cloud is more highly secure or regulatory compliance or digital transformation. Whereas if you look at the manufacturing customers, they look at more of ease of operations and for cost efficiencies. Okay, so but also it varies from geography to geography, primarily to look at privacy or regulatory compliance perspective. So one more thing to note is, most of the customers today are looking for a hybrid cloud or a multi-cloud solution. So we are providing an end-to-end business solution for our customers. We have our 17 cloud centers across the globe. Plus we have a tie-up with all the private public cloud players. So we provide an integrated hybrid cloud solution or a multi-cloud solution for our customers, and we take them through 5 different stages. Okay, like starting from strategize, design, migrate, modernize, and then the cloud operations. Okay, so which will help them in this cloud transformation. Also, one more point, we have our TCS, we have our business 4.0, TCS's thought leadership framework, where cloud is the pillar. Okay, this will help us, taking the customers into the transformation or cloud transformation journey. In the just a last point, in the recent pandemic, it has reaffirmed or reconfirmed the need for a cloud for any enterprise, primarily for their resilience perspective. Okay.
All right, so let's see what the audience think about the point that Satish Chandra has made, and let's put it in a broader context. So the question to the audience that I would pose, and this is a poll where we'll get to see what the audience thinks, is what is the biggest challenge that enterprises face in adopting cloud technology? Now, you have 4 options. If you're tuning in, you can select one of the options, and of course, basis the answer of the poll, we'll continue the discussion later on. But the 4 options in front of you are security, managing cloud spend, lack of resources or expertise, and the compliance. The biggest challenge that enterprises face when it comes to adopting cloud technology. That's the question we are asking the audience, and of course we'll wait to hear back from them. But in the meanwhile, let me segue into Kit as well. Kit, how does Intel provide a sort of enabling environment where you've heard our various speakers given their points of view in terms of cloud adoption in India? How does Intel provide an enabling environment for companies in India and across the world?
Yeah, so Gautam, that's a really good question. And, today we engage with the top 100 CSPs to optimize workloads and share expertise across orchestration, software stacks, and security. That's something we do just across all our top customers, right? And obviously Control S, TCS Cloud, to name a few. We are also the leading Linux kernel contributor over the past 5 years. And we have over 2 decades of open source experience with a global scope, obviously. And we are highly engaged with over 600 open source projects today, such as OpenStack and TensorFlow. So we have Intel optimized distribution of OpenVINO that's now available at PyTorch. And that has delivered over 3.5 times AI inference performance on Intel Xeon scalable performance processors, basically supporting DL Boost with integer 8 versus FP32. Another example would be the use of Intel's distribution of OpenVINO. Many of our CSPs have come back to tell us that they've achieved more than 1.5 times frames per second in video analysis, right? We have also provided Intel's math kernel library and Intel support. CSP customers are able to minimize front-end compute with Intel's CBLAST libraries and optimize automatic speech and recognition by over 5 times. The ISV community is obviously super important to all of us, so we provide high-touch support to just over 700 industry-leading ISVs, optimizing application performance on next-gen Intel architecture, spanning cloud, Visual Cloud, Enterprise, and HPC. And obviously, one clear example, which I'm proud of, is on-site engineers worked recently with Oracle on Oracle's X8M and has set the world record for database analysis with greater than 50% lower latency, 250 times IOPS, and 1.15 times more capacity than industry-leading RDS storage and SQL database. Not forgetting our dear partners in VMware, where we partnered with them to achieve 87% more virtual desktop VDI and reduce TCO dollar per VDI user up to 16% by deploying basically Intel Optane technology with VMware vSAN. These are just a few examples of engineering we do at different layers of the cloud stack and development of different solutions with our customers. The multi-cloud world, which is upon us, is really about scale, flexibility, improved cost, and security, and that's what Intel endeavors to support.
Right. So where there is demand, there are solutions coming about from Intel. Of course, that is the overarching theme here. That whenever there is a problem, it's the cloud which provides the perfect kind of tailored solutions to customers. And in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic, we've actually seen a huge impetus being given to everything digital. And of course, that is not possible without a robust network and, of course, telco infrastructure. So my next question is to you, Harmeen. What are your thoughts on how the telecom network itself is undergoing change, considering the shift is so massive?
Say, the whole telecom industry, our entire usage profile has gone completely topsy-turvy in the last 4 months, as you can imagine. The way we are capacitized our sites in commercial areas is very different from residential areas. And suddenly, with the flick of a switch, and one day we saw commercial sites not getting any traffic and almost, several fold increase on the home consumption. But I think that's what the modern networks are built to handle and to be able to shift all those workloads. And I think I'm really, really proud all our network teams and infrastructure teams. They did an incredible job during this very difficult period, while the rest of us were getting
I think we are having
some
some
lockdown in the comfort of our homes. There were sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can right now. Please go ahead, Harmeen.
Okay. So I was just saying, as all of us were, going back home and getting quarantined inside our houses, we had hundreds of people on network and infrastructure side that actually got quarantined inside data centers and also MSCs, because we had to keep all the networks up and running, and mobility was impacted around the road. So very, very grateful to them. But I think this is where technology, infrastructure, cloud, virtualization played such a big role. We've had 50,000 people work from home in less than 24 hours, keeping the entire infrastructure of the country running as well. One of the onus on the telcos is our BCP plan was not, we never thought that the whole country would ever get locked down, but we had to kind of invoke that in 24 hours. And if everything weren't virtualized and you couldn't control everything remotely, it would have been impossible. And one of the biggest onus on companies like us was you had to keep the country running. That was job one. Keeping the company running was job two. So, the essential infrastructure, because the only mode of communication connection for enterprises to work, to run their companies and run their businesses, was with the backbone of the telecoms. So that's where a lot of the focus was. And I think, again, modern technology, we really don't realize that how much fast the world is changing and how much unpredictable things are getting. Businesses are all about that speed of change. And I think as a technologist in a company, your job is to be able to enable the business in good and the bad and the ugly and everything in between, but more than match the pace of any change that is needed. And that's why if we are not embracing today's technology, by tomorrow, it is anyway going to be redundant and there's going to be a new advancement. So, I find myself really lucky to be in a field. I get to learn and grow every single day, because that's how fast technology advances. And the onus is also on us to make sure that our organizations are actually keeping up pace with that. We also, manage the cloud and infrastructure and data centers for so many of our customers. And we had to make sure that each one of them was very well supported during this period as well, because it was critical for their businesses. But I must say, it actually brought a lot of the people within the company together. It also brought a lot of us closer to our customers as well, who really appreciated everything that was done for them. So I think overall, it's an experience of a lifetime that none of us are ever going to forget. But I think we have evolved to be much better technology organizations out of all of this and across the country. the adoption of digital. I mean, people who had never ever done a digital recharge. I mean, more than 75% of our recharges were happening online. The adoption of all the services, digital services, really, multiplied several fold. And actually, this entire COVID-19 did much more for digital growth in India than probably the rest of us have managed to do in the last couple of years.
Indeed, managing business at the speed of thought is not easy as it seems. And remember, we had asked this question on what are the challenges, especially when it comes to adopting the cloud. And in this context, let's see the results which have come in. As you can see, security is the #1 challenge listed by our audience for enterprises facing in adopting cloud technology. And next, of course, is resources or expertise. That's next in line, with the third option of managing cloud spends being in focus, and compliance coming in last. So security is the top challenge according to our audience for adopting cloud technology. Coming back to you, Sumit, what do you think are the changes which are happening in media consumption in a sort of post-COVID world, and what do you see its impact being on technology?
Actually, there's a big shift from traditional mediums to digital mediums when actually lockdown started. Content lines for most television shows actually dried up, and OTT space and online space flourished, and consumption grew multifolds in very short time. The addition of 26 million new subscribers by Netflix in first 2 quarters of 2020 actually itself says the amazing year they actually had, because they just forecasted 12 million, and which was looked impossible before COVID hit us. Same happens with Disney and many others. Digital news actually is following the similar consumption trend, sailing on the tailwinds of COVID anxiety amongst a lot of consumers. Most news platforms actually grew multifold in very short time in March and April. From what I know, I think the growth is between 100 to 200% for most platforms across the industry. And the numbers which they touched, actually it was not even there on their radar for next 2 years. So that's actually even more surprising. But the technologies have fairly done well. The products which were built for scale were able to deliver and handle these traffics without much efforts or at the teams, and especially the ops teams and or technology teams ends. So cloud enabled us, and various platforms which they invested in actually enabled us to grow and support this traffic. Yes, the traffic will drop eventually and normalize, but the overall peak actually would be, or the new normal would be established, which would be way higher in terms of engagement time and number of users, which was before, comparing to what it was pre-COVID. While the traffic has increased, the challenges have also emerged, especially because of challenges of monetization. Challenges of monetization. The OTT space and the news products, which are reliant on advertising as a primary source, are actually under acute pressure of cost. So I feel most of the media industry technologies teams now are aligned to this goal by concentrating on three key areas. First, engineering. Many teams across the industry are actually looking to overhaul their products and see how they can drive more cost efficiency, considering they have reached a new scale or new normal. So there's a lot of effort which is going on in that direction. And if people are primarily logged into one cloud, they are trying to evaluate multiple clouds so that they actually have a leverage when they do a commercial negotiation with the cloud provider. Another key thing which people not just media company, actually everybody is investing in, is enabling people to work from home efficiently. When content line dried up, we've seen people working remotely in editing shows, putting them together, which was one of the kind interviews, but one of the actually kind experience for anyone. I've seen people doing a lot of shows from home, running a lot of streams from broadband because the office had to be shut down because of some employee getting a coronavirus, specifically in the beginning. But in the long term, I believe the efforts would have to be on machine learning because as the traffic has increased, it's key for everyone to actually create a model in which people can, you actually can identify customer behavior and tune your products to actually have customer loyalty. So the more the stickiness you actually get, the better you become and the better you actually have in the long term.
All right. Now, Satish, you heard the poll which took place, the results of the poll, and security was listed as one of the biggest challenges when it came to adopting the cloud. You've had so many Fortune 500 customers move into the cloud, and TCS has helped manage such transformation. What, in your opinion, are the key challenges that enterprises face, and what are the mitigations they should be planned for? And you could answer that in the context of the poll that we did, where security and resource spends were the top areas listed by our audience as areas of concern when it came to adopting the cloud.
So, Gautam, this is one of the questions most of the CEOs ask also about, they want to know the challenges before they get onto the cloud transformation. And we have worked with, and as I said, very large enterprises across the globe, and we have taken them to the transformation. And we have our own private cloud with, as I said, with 17 plus cloud centers, and also with cloud centers in India. Plus, we have our own PaaS. Plus, our own platforms, like, we have our banking platform and healthcare, digital, analytic platforms. And also, we work with all the public cloud players. And we provide an integrated hybrid cloud solution or a multi-cloud solution for our customers. Okay, the challenges predominantly, changes, slightly differ from enterprise to enterprise. I've seen that security is one of the challenges, but let me articulate or let me just say about 2 or 3 top challenges what the customers see when they are taking up the cloud transformation as a whole. Okay. So first challenge what I've seen is not having the right cloud strategy. What I mean is a lack of well-defined cloud adoption strategy covering all the business objectives, okay, is the biggest challenge in any enterprise. See, in any enterprise, there'll be various stakeholders, okay, and we have to map all the business objectives for the cloud transformation. So simple examples, I'll give you 1 or 2. Maybe if the CEO's objective is the accelerated growth, okay, whereas if a CFO's objective is cost optimization, where CIO will be looking at more of infrastructure consolidations and all. So and plus security is object, one of the key concerns of the CSOs. So how do we bridge all these things together and then provide a strategy to for the cloud transformation? That is most key challenge what I've seen. And of course, the final thing is having the right ROI, okay, return on investment. So the mitigation for this is, it is advised to invest time in building the right cloud strategy for covering all the business objectives, including it may be security, or it may be processes, it may be ROI, it may be, growth put together, and then come up with a complete end-to-end strategy for that is the primary challenge what I've seen in the industry. And, we have, in TCS, we have built our own, what do you call, as a framework, a proprietary methodology to map all these things together end-to-end, and then provide a roadmap for the cloud transformation. The second challenge which I've seen, Gautam, is choosing the right cloud model, because having customers has got a choice, right, of private cloud, public cloud, and all the PaaS and the SaaS or BPaaS. So how do we choose the right cloud, or a combination of the cloud, which will give them the highly secure environment, or it may meet their business objectives plus meet the ROI? Okay, writing the cloud, choosing the right cloud model for balancing their workloads is one of the key challenges. So mitigation for this is, we have to do an in-depth analysis of all the applications in the enterprise. We have to look at what applications needs to run whether it is suited for a public cloud or a private cloud, or it has to be replaced with a PaaS, or we have to completely do a BPaaS for that, which is right for that particular organization. And then we have to map all this application and the end state, and then provide a complete roadmap for them in managing this together. And then provide this cloud split or workload split across this. So we use our framework, what we call Cloud Council, to map all the applications across these enterprises and then provide a roadmap for their cloud transformation. One more thing, once we do this, the advice is, it is very, very important for us to spend time in building the strategy and the workload. Once this mapping is done, then the next stages of migration, modernization, and running the cloud will be much, much, much easier. And one more point I would like to say, most of the enterprises' application footprints varies from legacy to digital, and you name it, they will have that type of infrastructure. So we need to be optimal whether to migrate as is, like if it is a legacy, or we need to modernize it. So, we have to come up with a mix and match of looking at all the components together as part of a workload balancing. The third risk see, Gautam, is on the people and process perspective. See, the people need to get accustomed to the new way of working in a cloud environment. Okay, so how do we manage that? Or having the right processes to manage this. So this can be done. This can be done through having a right change management process, having a right rigorous process defined in management of these things. So putting this together, and then we can manage it well. So these are the top risks I see. And just to end it, I just want to take a minute more on looking at one of
we don't have a minute, so you'll have to finish it in 15 seconds.
Okay. So we did a large transformation for many transformations, Gautam, across the world. Okay. So, the message is spend time for doing the strategy very clearly, beginning to map all the business objectives, and choose the right cloud model and the workload balancing, and then security, compliance. So thanks, Gautam.
So that's the summary there, where you need to think through your business needs and adopt the right cloud model which tailors to that business need, and of course think of ROI. But speaking of multi-cloud strategy, let's see what the audience has to say about this question on what is the biggest advantage that they see of a multi-cloud strategy. Ladies and gentlemen, you have 4 options in front of you. A is avoid lock-in with one specific vendor, or B, optimizing for cost and performance, or C, improved reliability, or D, flexibility and scalability. The biggest advantage of a multi-cloud strategy, we'll be waiting to see the results of that question from the audience. But quickly moving on to Sridhar. Now, Sridhar, as the founder of India's own leading cloud player, what's been your experience in building local cloud? And in your opinion, how do enterprises thrive and grow in this multi-cloud world?
I'll start with security because that's what leads to multi-cloud as well. There are all internet-facing applications, in any case, are public. So it doesn't matter whether you keep them in your own data center or a captive data center or private cloud or public cloud. Ultimately, they are connected, right? So now that leaves the enterprises with the rest of the applications, which they can afford to keep it in their factories, whether it's a SAP application or a core banking in their own data center or a private cloud or a data center like us. That's what, these are the different needs of different applications and different enterprises with respect to security. And then different public cloud platforms offer their unique value propositions, whether it is, let's say, a company which is developing applications, probably they find one of the cloud vendors a lot more easier to use and scale up faster, and so on and so forth, which leads to multi-cloud environment. Despite the public cloud movement which is being seen, survey after survey is predicting that today's survey also, which says that 51% or over 50% of people worry about security. That's what makes private cloud stronger, here to stay, and is continue to be there. Now, because many of the organizations feel that because of the security issues, some of the applications are better kept in private cloud, some internet facing, could be on public cloud, and some applications which need analytics or some other microservices on another public cloud platform. So overall, this is the way that organizations are thinking, and hence multi-cloud has become a kind of a de facto for every enterprise today. And that's when the need comes, how do we seamlessly manage these, and where an enterprise should invest its time and energy, which applications should go on which cloud platforms, which should stay private or in-house, and the need for choosing a managed service provider who can manage seamlessly, who has centers of excellence around all these technologies, and who has articulation layer on top of all of these different cloud environment, and give a unified view to the CIO, and having the skills to take the enterprises on a digital transformation journey. Now, this is where the Cloud4C, the second company that I founded in the last 6 years, one of the fastest growing. It is now in 25 odd countries with 50 plus locations offering its services, and does the management of multi-cloud security and helping the customers in their digital transformation journey. So that's the...
Okay. All right, so we've got an exchange of insights and ideas on this topic of cloudification of everything, and there's been a lot of interesting points of view coming in here. And before we go to the questions from the audience, and there are quite a lot of that, I'd like to have a rapid fire round with all of you. One question, you have 10 seconds to answer that. And the question is, what is the one key innovation or service offering that you feel will dominate the cloud for the next 2 to 3 years? Kit, we'll start with you. What do you feel is going to be that one key killer innovation?
So to me, I think it's the progress of AI and machine learning. That would be my one pick, because regardless of which growth area or key service, like edge services or functional service, you'll find AI and machine learning in application in that space.
What's your point of view?
Mine, boringly, is also the same. It's AI ML, but mainly because I think every company is going to want to use it for for advancing their technology and their offerings and more understanding the customers better, but would not be able to invest in GPUs, etc. So for the mid market especially, that's the biggest workload that they're going to want to offload. Because it'll make it easier and faster and more reliable. Plus, they can do it in a burst, which will cost them much lesser than having.
All right. So 2 votes for AI ML. Satish, what's your view on this?
See, anything to do with digital will naturally dominate on the cloud, because cloud is the pillar. So AI, IoT, or the customer experience will dominate the cloud model.
Sridhar?
Aided by DevOps, robotics, AI/ML, app modernization. That's the journey that will dominate in the cloud going forward.
All right. And Sumit, finally you?
Compute on the edge, edge computing, specifically because there is a huge growth in IoT in last few years. And we feel that the growth would actually even grow bigger, it will go even higher from the next 3 years. I think the real-time intelligence would become key. Currently, there are a lot of limitations on bandwidth and latency, which can be solved if you implement edge compute or edge functions. That's what I feel.
All right, so that's the last word from the panel on a key innovation or service that they feel will dominate the cloud. I believe the results of the poll are also in. And remember, the question was the key benefits of a multi-cloud strategy. And there, as you can see, a win for flexibility and scalability there, with 47 votes coming in. And next in line is avoiding lock-in with one specific vendor. And after that is optimizing for cost and performance, and finally improved reliability. So that's the audience poll results on the question of what is the biggest advantage of a multi-cloud strategy. Now let's quickly shift into the questions also coming in for our panelists from the audience. I believe we have our first question for Harmeen. The question is how 5G is going to change the cloud model, and how Harmeen foresees the emergence of edge cloud. It's a very important question, considering the push towards edge computing, and it's always about reduced latency with the customers. And considering the times that we live in, it's an important question. What's your answer to it, Harmeen?
So I agree. I think the edge is going to be very valuable, but only for certain type of enterprises. I think for gaming, for media content, those kind of organizations. Some usage for anybody with significant digital presence that needs ultra low latency. Use cases like surveillance, etc. All of those will use as well. But I think I think that is actually impossible without the cloud. So that is a full, I would say, on in the cloud story, because it's the cloud that's going to enable the edge to really work in a very seamless manner. Given the footprint and the way telecoms work, we have over 100 edges all around the country, and we are now enabling our cloud, in each one of those, and creating very unique use cases. In fact, partnering up with Intel, because you really need a very different set of high performance compute with a very small footprint at the edge, and you have to take care of all kind of weather conditions, etc. as well. But I definitely feel the edge is very, very exciting. We are very deeply working on it, and I think over the course of the next few months, we'll start seeing a lot of that unraveling. And then 5G is just going to bring in a steroid injection to all of this, because many of the use cases of 5G, especially with the private networks and the localized network fields that enterprises would want to create, whether it's in manufacturing, and fab plants, etc. That's where you're almost going to create an edge for them over there as well. And I think it's the cloud, the intelligence that the edge brings, being able to understand what needs to be computed with ultra low latency immediately on the edge, and what can be taken back to the mega cloud and be computed there. I mean, and all this happening seamlessly in micro and milliseconds. That's the fun part of it, actually.
Does that also explain the fact that there is a push towards business for SMEs, Airtel bringing cloud services to SMEs? Do you think there are opportunities there as well, especially as we move on to the next technological paradigm, which is 5G?
Yeah, I think that one is a little different. Gautam, on the SME side, see, a lot of these SMEs, they're not going to have, they want to concentrate on running their business. They would not have the expertise to be able to run all these technologies, and with something changing so fast, they just want to be able to use it to enable it for their business, but not necessarily having to invest in it. So I think they're a simplified version, and almost every one of them, they start with their core telco services, connectivity, what they can do, get on the internet, and from that being able to do whatever their little workload they want to do it on the cloud, and have somebody just kind of manage that with at a low cost and at a very low hassle for them. And there we see a very big play. So they're also SaaS application users. So and they want that somebody provides them the mobile with the connectivity and 4 or 5 of these applications. They're able to run their world on it. And I think that's that's really what's driving a lot of their business. Plus, if you look at what's happened, the SMEs are one of the segments which has actually got severely impacted in the last 4 or 5 months. And for them to quickly move to a digital model, even for a plumber to be able to communicate to his to his audience, or a small hardware shop to be able to give a quote and invoice it. I mean, all that's happening on WhatsApp. So they just need very simple things on how to digitize their businesses very fast and be able to communicate with their customers in this, very unique, evolving world that we are in. And that's where these nuggets of that usage is what is important. And that's where the cloud would really help.
Make it simple. That's the point there. Let's quickly move on to a third question. We just have time for about a question or two, so we'll need some quick answers from our panelists as well. This one is for Satish Chitra. Now, TCS being the largest full-time employer in the country, Satish, what is it that we need to do to upgrade skills of our youth and be future ready for technologies like cloud and AI? A quick 15-second answer from you.
Okay, so the technologies are changing every day, but it is important to provide this channel for all the youth. Okay, providing a online platform or providing a real-time experience for them to learn. So TCS has got our ION digital learning platform, which is enabled for our public, and also we are more than 8 million people are accessing that, where we are providing all the latest technologies on that for the youth to log in and learn. And we have tie up with all the universities and changing the.
Okay. We seem to be experiencing some connectivity issues, so we'll have to unfortunately interrupt you there, Satisha. The last question, I believe, is for Sridhar, and Sridhar, it is: can you please share the expansion plans for Controlless? Quick answer from you on that.
Yeah, Controlless is occupying a unique position in the industry, being the only tier 4 certified or rated 4 certified company, LEED Platinum, and least energy consuming data centers. Plus, the only carrier neutral data center in India now, truly carrier neutral data center in India now, on a large scale, which is getting us customers. And the growth rates have been double in the industry. The EBITDA levels are double in the industry almost. So to fuel these requirements of customers, we have started the biggest data center campus of India in Bombay, with a gross load of over 300 megawatt, 220 kVA GIS substation. And the similar campuses we are planning right now in Hyderabad and Chennai. And these are large-scale data center campuses. And to cater to the edge needs, carrier-neutral needs in edge computing, we started working on edge data centers in over 20 plus cities of India. And
all right,
another team is being set up.
So lots in store for you, Sridhar. Looks like you've got a busy year ahead, and it's the exciting possibilities that cloud computing brings up for both enterprises and customers is what we are looking at in this panel. And of course, we also address the challenges which come up in terms of deploying the right cloud strategy, which is tailored for your business, and of course, making sure that the customers are serviced well and are at the heart of that very enterprise. I'd like to thank the panel here for joining us. Remember, we were discussing the cloudification of everything, and the future looks bright, although just a bit cloudy. That's it from me. Thank you to everyone in the panel for joining us, and it's over to Megha Vishwanath.